the quiet street of Gary, Indiana, a boy was born who would one day change the world. From the first note he sang to the first steps he danced, Michael Jackson's life was destined to be extraordinary, yet marked by struggle, sacrifice, and relentless ambition. Behind the glittering light, the applause and the fame, there was a story of a child carrying dreams heavier than most could imagine. Step into the life of the King of Pop, the music that inspired millions, the moment of genius that redefined an era, and the human heart that beat behind a legend. Enter a world of rhythm, passion, and unwavering determination. The steel mills of Gary, Indiana, cough smoke into the sky, like the city itself exhaling its hardships. Amid the endless hum of labor and the clatter of trains, a boy was born on August 29, 1958. Michael Joseph Jackson. He was the 8th of 10 children, small, fragile, yet carrying a fire no one could see at first glance. Life in Gary was harsh. Poverty was a relentless teacher, and Joseph Jackson, strict and determined father, became both mentor and tormentor. He demanded discipline beyond the understanding of a child, a regiment meant to forge greatness from ordinary flesh and bone. From the earliest days, Michael showed signs of a spark the world would one day feel. While his siblings played, he watched, absorbing rhythm, melody, and movement like a silent observer of life's patterns. When he hummed along the Motown records, it was not imitation, it was instinct. Music became both refuge and weapon, a language the boy understood before words could ever contain him. At 5 years old, Michael joined the Jackson 5, performing alongside his brothers. Despite his size, his presence commanded the room. He moved with a fluidity that seemed beyond human, his voice carrying a purity and urgency that hinted at his singular destiny. Rehearsals were brutal. Joseph's whip of discipline struck not out of malice, but conviction, to push these children toward a greatness that would defy their humble beginnings. Each era was met with correction, each misstep an opportunity to master the art that was already alive within them. Yet Michael's genius was not born from compliance alone. He possessed an inner drive that could be contained. Late at night, in the small, cramped rooms of the Jackson household, he would practice in silence, perfecting gestures, notes, and steps no one else could witness. The walls absorbed his quiet hums, his whispered songs, the shuffle of bare feet across worn floors. In these solitary hours, he became more than a child. He became a vessel of something larger, something transcendent. By age 10, Michael was no longer merely part of the Jackson family. He was the heartbeat of their music. Audiences marveled at his performances, but only he knew the solitude that accompanied genius. Fame, even at this tender age, was both a crown and a burden. He learned early that the world would want everything he had: his talent, his charm, his smile, yet would never understand the boy who carried it all alone. The streets of Gary were alive with the echoes of ambition. the Jackson 5, led by the youngest but brightest star, began to attract attention beyond the city limits. The music carried the echoes of struggle, hope, and raw talent, a reflection of the life they had lived and the dreams they were beginning to chase. With each note, Michael's voice seemed to carry both the innocence of a child and the intensity of someone far older, someone who had glimpsed the world's cruelty and yet refused to bow to it. Motown became the crucible that would forge the young boy into a star. When the family first performed for Berry Gordy, the label's founder, he saw what few others did: a child with the poise, rhythm, and presence of a performer far beyond his years. The Jackson 5 was signed, and suddenly their music would reach homes across America. Every television set, every radio speaker, a gateway to fame. But fame was not the sanctuary it might have seemed. Rehearsals stretched long into the night, often brutal, with Joseph's strict hand guiding and correcting at every turn. Michael learned discipline, not as a suggestion but as law. Every note had to be precise, every step flawless, every gesture exact. It was a grind that would have crushed an ordinary child, but Michael thrived in the fire of this intensity. His talent became sharper, his instinct keener. On stage, he became a force of nature. Even at 8, 9, 10 years old, he commanded attention not because he demanded it, but because the world could not look away. His high-pitched, crystalline voice carried a power that seemed impossible for one so young. And then there was the movement, fluid, hypnotic, precise, yet seemingly effortless. Each performance was a story, a drama, a miniature world that unfolded beneath his tiny hands and feet. Hit after hit, I Want You Back, ABC, The Love You Save. The Jackson 5 became a symbol of hope and possibility. But the light line brought isolation. While the world cheered, the boy beneath the sequins and polished shows often felt trapped. Friends outside the babble of fame were scarce, and childhood became a memory of stolen hours between rehearsals and performances. Yet, even in isolation, Michael discovered the deeper truth of his existence. He was destined not only to entertain, but to move people, to inspire, to challenge the very boundaries of music and dance. Motown taught him the mechanics of music, the art of performance, and the precision required to be a star. But it also taught him resilience, rejection, mistakes, criticism. All became fuel. Each tour, each television appearance, each recording session was both a test and a step toward a larger destiny. By his early teens, Michael was no longer just a member of a famous group. He was a phenomenon, a figure whose talent demanded recognition and whose presence hinted at something unprecedented in the history of popular culture. Yet, the boy who had conquered stages and captivated the nation still felt the stirrings of something greater. Michael Jackson was not content to be a star among stars. He was compelled to become the artist who would redefine music itself. The release of Off the Wall in 1979 marked the first step in this journey. This album was more than a collection of songs. It was a declaration. Michael experimented with sound, blending funk, pop, and soul into a seamless tapestry of emotion and rhythm. Each song was layered with feeling, exuberance, melancholy, desire, and reflection, all expressed through his inimitable voice. But it was not only the music. Michael's performance began to evolve, integrating theatricality, storytelling, and the earliest seeds of the legendary dance moves that would become his signature. The road to solo stardom, however, was fraught with pressure. The world expected brilliance, and Michael demanded the same of himself. Each recording session became a crucible of perfection, a place where he labored for hours to ensure that every note, every beat, every breath resonated with the exact emotion he intended. Perfection was not a goal, it was an obsession. Even as he gained fame and wealth, Michael wrestled with the loneliness that success brought. The adoration of millions could not substitute for genuine companionship. Friends came and went, alliances were fragile, and the public's gaze often felt invasive, unrelenting. Yet through this, Michael's artistry only deepened. He drew from personal struggle, from isolation, from the intensity of childhood discipline, channeling these experiences into music that transcended mere entertainment. The world began to glimpse a man who was not only a performer, but a visionary. His albums were not just collections of songs, they were narratives, cinematic in scope, full of character, tension, and drama. He was crafting a universe of sound and movement that would forever change how music was experienced. Then came Thriller, a phenomenon that would alter the course of popular culture forever. Released in 1982, the album exploded with unprecedented success, blending pop, funk, rock, and soul into an electrifying symphony. Every song was meticulously crafted, every rhythm precise, every lyric laden with emotion and storytelling. Michael's transformation into the king of pop was both immediate and monumental. The album shattered records, rewrote the rules of the music industry, and elevated him to a level of global recognition rarely seen before. His music videos were no longer mere promotion. They were short films, complete with narrative arcs, suspense, dance, and visual spectacle. Thriller, with its iconic choreography and cinematic horror element, became more than a song. It became a cultural event, watched and revered by millions. Yet with brilliance came scrutiny. Fame became suffocating. Michael's every gesture, every decision, every appearance was analyzed and judged. He lived under the constant gaze of a world that adored him, yet never allowed him privacy. Despite this, he continued to innovate, pushing the boundaries of performance, video, and stagecraft. His moves from the moonwalk to spins that defied gravity became symbols of aspiration, joy, and the human capacity to create the impossible. Behind the sequins and stage light, however, the boy from Gary still lingered, sensitive, reflective, and at times burdened by the pressures of perfection and the expectations of millions. He was aware of the fragility of fame and the fleeting nature of adoration. Every applause carried with it the knowledge that public affection could vanish as quickly as it came. Yet he pressed forward, transforming every challenge into artistry, every obstacle into movement, every shadow into light. Even as the world revealed in his music, Michael Jackson's heart carried a depth far beyond the glare of the stage light. Fame had given him power, wealth, and influence, but it had also gifted him an acute awareness of suffering. From an early age, he had witnessed hardship, not only in his own life, but in the world around him, and he felt an unshakable responsibility to act. Michael's humanitarian efforts were as meticulous and passionate as his music. He donated millions to charities, hospitals, and organizations supporting children and families in need. He became an advocate for education, health, and disaster relief, often contributing without seeking attention or recognition. And yet, for all his generosity, the media rarely portrayed this side of him. The public saw the glimmering gloves, the moonwalk, the sequin jacket, but few glimpsed the man who often wept quietly over letters from children suffering from illness, hunger, or war. He understood the power of art, not just as entertainment, but as a bridge to empathy. Songs like Man in the Mirror and Heal the World were more than melodies. They were manifestos of hope. Every note carried a plea for compassion, every lyric a vision of a better future. In these works, Michael merged his genius with his humanity, creating music that inspired introspection and action. Yet, this noble heart existed alongside a life of contradictions. The pressures of fame, the public's insatiable curiosity, and the constant scrutiny left scars that could not be healed by applause alone. Michael became a man caught between two worlds, one of limitless admiration and one of profound isolation. His childhood, marked by discipline and relentless expectation, had left him with a vulnerability that the adoring masses could not perceive. Behind the elaborate performances and flawless moves was a soul searching for trust, for understanding, for connection. At home, Michael created sanctuaries where he could be himself, imaginative worlds that blended reality and fantasy. Neverland Ranch, with its amusement rides, gardens, and animals, was not just a home, but a refuge. It was a place where childhood could be reclaimed, where joy could be sculpted into tangible form, and where he could momentarily escape the relentless gaze of the world. Yet even in these sanctuaries, the weight of fame was inescapable. Visitors, staff, and the media could never fully understand the man behind the mask of perfection. But the life of a king is never without shadow. Michael Jackson's fame, his difference, his genius, all became targets for the world's fascination, suspicion, and judgment. Allegations surfaced, scandals erupted, and the man who had once danced through the world with boundless freedom found himself ensnared in a web of suspicion, misunderstanding, and relentless scrutiny. These years were crucible of endurance. Michael faced trials not only in the court of law, but in the court of public opinion. Headlines distorted truth, rumors blurred reality, and the innocence of a life dedicated to artistry and humanitarianism became a battleground. Yet he carried these burdens with remarkable grace, channeling his pain into performance and philanthropy, music, dance, and creation remained his sanctuary, the place where he could assert control, express truth, and communicate the emotions the world refused to understand. The contrast between his public image and private reality was stark. While millions cheered and celebrated his talent, Michael wrestled with solitude, fear, and the longing for a world in which he could simply be a child, a man, or an artist, unburdened by expectation. Each performance, each album, each public appearance was an act of courage, a defiance against the world that demanded perfection while offering judgment in return. As the years progressed, Michael Jackson's influence expanded beyond music. His innovations reshaped pop culture. His dance moves became universal language, and his albums remained touchstones of artistry and emotion. Yet, his greatness or greatest legacy was more than records sold or awards won. It was the inspiration he instilled in generations, the belief that artistry could transcend circumstance, that dreams could be forged from struggle, and that the human spirit could shine even under the heaviest spotlight. Michael's final years were marked by reflection, continued creativity, and, at times, profound isolation. He rehearsed tirelessly, planned ambitious projects, and continued to dream of connecting with the world through his art. On June 25, 2009, the world lost Michael Jackson. The news struck like a shock wave, rippling through the lives of millions. Fans wept, colleagues mourned, and the music world felt the absence of a genius unlike any other. Yet, death could not erase his impact. His albums continue to inspire. His dance moves are studied and celebrated, and his humanitarian vision remains a guiding light. Michael Jackson was not merely a performer, he was a force, phenomenon of talent, heart, and relentless ambition. His life, filled with triumph, pain, creativity, and generosity, remains a dramatic testament to the power of human potential. To understand Michael Jackson is to grasp the delicate interplay between light and shadow, genius and vulnerability, public spectacle and private longing. He was a man who bore the weight of the world's gaze while shaping it through music and movement. He was a boy from Gary who rose to heights unimaginable, yet carried with him the echoes of a disciplined, often painful childhood. His story teaches wisdom that greatness is forged not only through talent, but through endurance, empathy, and vision, that the pursuit of art is intertwined with sacrifice, and that even those who inspire millions carry private battles that the world may never see. Michael Jackson's life was a symphony of contradictions, joy and sorrow, fame and isolation, perfection and vulnerability, and in that symphony lies the profound truth of his humanity. The king of pop may have left the stage, but his music, his movement, and his message endure. He remains a symbol of imagination, resilience, and the transcendent power of creativity, a reminder that a single life, fully lived, can inspire the world. Michael Jackson's story is more than the king of pop, more than the music, more than the fame. It's the story of a life lived in pursuit of perfection, a heart committed to healing the world, and a spirit that refused to be broken by trials, controversy, or loss. Though he is gone, his rhythm lives on, his music, his dance, his vision, and his courage continue to inspire generations. From the street of Gary to stages across the globe, Michael Jackson's legacy reminds us that greatness is born of talent, forged in struggle, and immortalized through the heart of those who believe.